All right. You said you think we're not going to have anything in common, so I am itching to get into it. I've
Yeah,
been
I
I've
said
been
it's
waiting to
possible. I
do
said it's
this for a
possible.
while. This is I think honestly, this is one of my more anticipated lists that we're doing.
I'm
Just
excited.
because it's
I haven't.
so like it's something honestly that we don't really talk about that much outside
True.
of any like we just don't really talk about this in general much. So some of
True.
the other like sports ones, we kind of had an idea
Movies.
maybe. Movies even we've seen a lot of the same movies so we know kind of what each other likes.
Mm,
But this I feel like like I said to you a couple days ago, there's two that I think will be on your list. But
mhm.
other than that, it could be, I don't know what direction it could go.
I have no idea what to expect from your list.
Yeah,
Like
my
I don't even
list
know
is
if I could.
crazy.
I don't even know if I could guess a single show on your list. So
Yeah, I don't think I've ever told like I'm not like private about what my favorite show is, but I don't think I've ever even told you
I
before.
don't think so.
So
I don't think so.
it might be a shock.
Here
We'll
we
see.
go. We'll find out.
All right. You want to start or you want me to kick things off?
I want you to kick it off. I'm
All
intrigued.
right. Two
Number
weeks in a row,
five.
I'm kicking it off. Number five, I have Friday Night Lights, which
Ooh.
might have been when we were talking about shows that we might have forgotten. At the time, that might have been what I was forgetting because it's one I didn't think of it for a while, and then
Mm,
it kind of clicked, and I was like, yeah, I really like that show. I watched it a little bit in high school, and then took a break from it for a while for some reason. I don't really remember why. I think I just maybe I don't know. I got tired of it at the time or something, and then I
mm,
came back to watch it, and I just loved it again. It's just such
mm.
a cool dynamic for a show. Never seen the movie. Heard the movie's pretty good. I think a lot of people actually like the movie better, but I think the show is great. I think the coach is great. Um, I think the characters are great, and I just think it's a really endearing plot line.
Mm. There you go. I've never seen it. I've seen one episode.
I think
Um,
you would enjoy it, honestly.
I've been told a lot that it's really good. I hear a lot of good things. So
It's a cool I mean it's obviously a show about football, but football is sort of like the background
yeah.
plot of the show. It's more about, the characters, the dynamics. You get to see because it's centered around a high school, get to see like these whole arcs of characters, so you become really connected to, the kid who was a freshman when the show started,
Mm,
is a senior later on kind of thing. So
yeah.
that's another really cool aspect of it. And I think they do a good job of um, kind of fostering a show of, you know, it seems relatively realistic. You could imagine
Mm,
this not
yeah, yeah,
being a
yeah.
fictional show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, maybe I'll have to
Is
check
that
it out.
already a surprise for you?
I mean, I don't even know if I can say a surprise because I didn't have expectations, but I
Like,
wouldn't have guessed.
so it's like, did you know that I've seen that show?
No idea. No
So
idea.
here we go.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No
Here
idea.
we
But
go.
it's just more. There's more sort of confirmation that I need to see it because it
Yeah.
sounds. Everyone that talks about it says it's really good. I saw the first episode a couple months ago actually, and like I liked it, but
hmm
so
The one thing I will say about it is I could certainly see people um kind of growing out of it because it does change a lot from start to finish, both with the
mm,
characters, the plot line, the style. Like it just changes as a show a lot. So that might be why I had to take a break from it. But looking
mm,
back on
mm.
it, I have such fond memories.
There we go. All right. So my number five is Friends.
All right, here we go. Let's get into it.
Did you expect me to have this on the list? You
Yes.
did, right? Yeah. Okay. But almost didn't make it, but I'll throw it in there. Um, there's definitely a big like nostalgia factor for me because it was like early high school when I watched this show, and I can remember just like I binged it like hardcore. I went crazy with this show.
hmm
Um, it's just like a classic, just like feel good sitcom. It's just you can throw it on. There's short episodes, and you just kind of enjoy it. Like you just enjoy watching the lives of these friends. I feel like it's timeless. Like it was made in what like late '90s to early 2000s, I think, something like
I think
that.
it did bleed in a
Uh,
little, yeah.
yeah. And it just to me, it's like the OG sitcom. I know Seinfeld is probably for a lot of people like the OG, and there maybe are some even before it. But to me, this is like the just the classic sitcom, and I feel like there's 1,000 different sitcoms like that now that are out on NBC, CBS, all these shows. And Friends just kind of feels like one that nobody can touch. That will forever for me. It's just one of those special shows that I loved. Um, I could have easily not had on this list, but it's got like for all the shows that I could think of, it's got to be top five for me. You might not share that opinion. I don't know.
I think Friends is the most overrated show of all time.
Bro, it's so good. Like
I
it's just
I'm not saying it's bad, right? This is similar to like my Tom Brady thing. Not quite in the same vein because I don't think Friends is the best show ever, but I think Friends is the most overrated show. I think it's one of the best background shows, partially because I do not care at all what happens. So I can walk away and come back and not feel like I missed anything. Um, we can get into what I really hate about the show, which is Ross and Rachel, which made me skip almost half a season of it because I just could not deal with that being hanging over the plot all the time. If it had been done and they had moved on from it, sure, fine. But they keep just dangling it there like for a
it's a
while.
show that has like 10 seasons. That's
And
what they
it
do.
is
What are you doing, show?
so annoying. It is so annoying. It's one of the most annoying plot lines ever,
Yeah.
in my
Like
opinion, because it's just such a ridiculous situation. And it just turned me off so much. I also think that um, a lot of the characters are pretty annoying to me at different times. Certainly,
certainly at times.
I think Monica is so annoying just because she is one of the most selfish characters I've ever seen, but it's not like I don't know if that's intended to be like that, but she is so selfish all the time. Like she only thinks about herself ever.
I think that's part of the comedy of it. Like these are all absurd characters. Like for the most part, these
Right.
characters, right? Like
But it's like it's just
look,
annoying to watch for me sometimes. Phoebe
I just
has
find
her moments. She's funny sometimes. At times she falls into that. Her and Joey both fall into. Well, there's and I don't know why people keep doing this because it's something that like people all over the world have caught on to. But it's like, the characters that are supposed to be kind of like weird and silly, and then they just make them like brain dead at a certain point
mhm.
where it's just like, all right, you kind of lost me there a little bit. Like, come
it
on, let's give them
that's
a little bit of intelligence here.
that's what I'm saying. That's the show's absurd. Like Joey and Phoebe are the two at times that are literally like they're dumber than any human that like
Yeah,
you'll ever meet, where they're just especially Joey. But
yeah.
it's the absurdity that makes the comedy like it's just such a fun show to watch. I love it.
I
I
can
like the
certainly
storylines that
respect
come
its
out of it.
place in
Yeah.
television, and like you said, there are certainly sitcoms that were before, in the 60s and 70s, whatever, but
Yeah.
like of the modern kind of sitcom that we see now, yeah, it's one of the classics. But for me, it's a background show and not much more. They also are one of the most frequent users of like the montage episodes. And I cannot stand, there's nothing I dislike in a show more than when I'm rolling with the plot, I'm interested, I'm waiting to see what happens, and they throw in a montage episode. If I wanted to watch those episodes, I'd go back and watch those episodes. And I
Look, bro,
understand when they were first coming out, it was like a way for them to fill up a week with whatever. But now, like, I'm judging it now when I watch it and when I'm rolling through these episodes and I see a Thanksgiving montage of all, and it's not even random clips. It's here are all the clips from the previous Thanksgiving montage episodes that we've shown.
look, it's a great show. You go cry about it on your time, okay? It's such a good show. It's such a
This
good
is what
show.
we're here to talk about, man.
This is
We're here to
ridiculous.
talk about
Look,
why Friends is an overrated show.
I'll give you. I don't love a lot of what they did with Ross and Rachel,
Mm-hmm.
but like I was like hooked in. Like I wanted to see what was going to happen.
Oh, I was not at all.
Yeah. Well,
And maybe part of that is because I'd heard about it so much and I was like,
yeah,
okay, this is going to be a thing, but I don't know. And they just keep
your
like
loss
they don't even like Ross never has another successful relationship.
because he ends
Like
up with Rachel.
but they don't make you like ever doubt that he's going to end up with Rachel. That
I
you
mean, I
know
don't
what I
know. It
mean? They
didn't seem like
never
it. They were dating.
they just never, yeah, but they were dating, but it would always be like, The closest they ever got was, I mean, we've already spoiled plenty here, but the closest they ever got was
Yeah,
that wedding, and then he says Rachel's name, and it's kind of like, all right, if it's not even that much later either. It's like I think that's like the thing is like season 3, and then that's like season 4 or 5. It's like, all right, if he couldn't do it now, like I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what to tell you, man.
They never they
You'll,
never
you'll,
pulled me into
yeah.
that.
You'll
They
have to
never
put a
pulled me into
spoiler
that.
warning at the beginning of this episode because
Understandable number 5 though. And I knew it was going to be on your list. And
yeah.
we're gonna probably get into it again because something's gonna come up on my list. So we'll
Okay.
save it for
Okay.
then. Um for me, number 4, I have The Office. Um
You.
Similar, I mean, I know you love The Office as well.
Yeah.
Um it's similar in the sense that I could throw it on whenever. It's
Mm-hmm.
another show that is played all the time. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's probably a what 60% chance maybe that when you turn on the TV, it will be on a channel.
Something
Um,
like that.
I don't know how they have syndication on so many channels, but this is one of those shows. I've rewatched it just from being on TV, and you watch an episode, and all of a sudden the jokes start stacking up, and you kind of are sitting there watching, and you're thinking, I did not realize that all of these great moments are in this one episode. Like you're thinking maybe this is across a season. And I
Yeah.
mean, especially the early seasons, they are just I think probably because they had to get like renewed or something, they're just throwing any joke that they can think of into one episode. So I mean, it's a show where I'll see a clip come up on YouTube, click on it, and all of a sudden I'll be doubled over laughing, even though I've seen
It's
it 1,000 times.
yeah,
Like I know what to expect. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know what lines they're going to say, and it still gets me. So I
dude.
could probably rewatch it. I was very late to it. If
Yeah.
I mean, you'll remember I was so late to the party
Yes, you
watching The
were.
Office, but this is a show that I watched in I think 2 weeks.
Yeah. It's so bingeable and it's so rewatchable too.
Hmm.
Like
Totally.
you can watch this show over and over and it just I mean it's not quite the same as the first time, but it's still so
Right.
good. So good.
Right. It's never going to be the same as when you had absolutely no idea what was coming, so that shock value was completely
Yeah,
there.
right.
But the amount of jokes that they put into this show helps it to,
Yeah.
you forget when stuff happens and you don't remember, okay, well, this episode, what happens here? And
Right.
all of a
Right.
sudden here it comes. Like
Yeah.
so many just great moments.
Yeah.
Just a
Great
good
show.
show.
Great show for sure.
Yeah.
Great show. All right. For me, number 4. I don't know if you would have I don't know if you're going to be expecting this one, but it's Sherlock.
No way.
Have you seen Sherlock?
I have seen it. I honestly did not know that you had seen it.
Yeah, bro. So I watched it. I was introduced in like 8th grade, I think. And I just love like detective shows, especially back then. I was watching a lot of like crime related shows.
Uh-huh.
I just think it's such a funny, like Sherlock is just such a funny, unique character. And I
Yeah.
really love just sort of like the genius. There's something to me I
Hmm.
just love about watching absolute just genius do detective work and uncover mysteries. It's such a unique show when they're like it's a show, but it's basically a bunch of like movie length episodes.
Right.
Only a few in a season, and they make the seasons very far apart. So I think the fact that it's just so unlike any other show, like how many crime shows are there where you have the 40-minute episodes, 20 episodes a season? There's a
Right.
bunch, like the list is so long. Um, and this one just feels really different from any other crime show. And man, I just got hooked. And I can remember binging those episodes and it is so good. I need to go back and watch it again. I just the Sherlock Holmes character is really cool. Um I really enjoyed the Robert Downey Jr. version like in the movies, which is
Hmm.
like different, but even like the so I just
Super
like the
different.
character a lot. But the show to me, that's like peak Sherlock Holmes. So good.
Yeah, I would probably agree that's the best version. That is super interesting. I did not
See, I'm telling
I,
you.
I didn't know that honestly you'd watch the whole thing, and I also did not know that you liked it that much.
Yeah, it's really
Super
good.
interesting.
I need to go back and watch it again. This
Yeah.
is
those are probably, yeah, because they're so long too.
Yeah, they are.
All right. That's an interesting pick.
There you go.
I was
Why not?
not expecting that at
I'm
all.
coming up with surprises today.
Yeah, seriously. This one is probably going to surprise you as well, I think.
Okay.
This might be the biggest. I mean, I'm not, it can't really be a hot take because it's entirely opinions, but this is probably going to be the most surprising one to you, I would say.
Okay.
Number three show, my third favorite show ever, Gravity Falls.
Oh,
Are you familiar?
no.
Okay, Gravity Falls is a Disney Channel slash Disney XD in the later season cartoon. And I say
Okay.
later season because there is only two seasons, if I'm remembering correctly.
All right.
There could be three, but I believe there's only two. It is
Oh,
a wacky, goofy, but also intriguing show. The Each episode has just great moments, just funny moments in but kind of, sort of like childish funny, but also that kind of like underlying humor where there's jokes that as you get older you start to understand them. There was one scene that I actually am just now remembering. One time we had a sleepover and I was obsessed with one scene, and it was like I watched it for like 30 minutes straight and laughed every single time, even though it was like an 8-second clip.
that sounds a
That's
lot
ringing a
like
bell
you.
now.
Yeah.
um, so there's a lot of humor, but there's also this underlying mystery element of it that you sort of forget for a while because it doesn't really pay off immediately, but sort of in the I'll say the after you finish about three-fourths of the show, they really ramp it up, and
Hmm.
all of a sudden it gets so interesting. And when you go back and watch a second time, a third time, it makes it
Hmm.
that much more interesting to kind of watch and remember everything that leads up to this huge finale. And there were certain shows like Disney Channel shows that I kept off this list because I wasn't sure if watching it back I would enjoy it as much, but this is a show that I watched well into high school. I would watch it right now when it's on TV. I'll still flip it on and enjoy it. So Gravity Falls is my third favorite show ever.
Wild. I mean, I don't know anything about this show. Looking at it online, like I can recognize these characters. It looks a
Yeah,
little familiar. Has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't think I've ever seen before. Um,
it's the underlying plot is
yeah,
really interesting.
yeah. Like my gut reaction is like that's absurd that this should be on would be on a top five list, but I haven't seen it, so I can't really judge it. Um, but that would be my question with like the Disney XD shows is
Right.
like, could you still watch it now and enjoy it? But I guess if you watched it in high school, you're saying you can. Then that
Yeah.
tells you. So I
This
respect
is
it.
this is definitely one of those that um like Disney and Nickelodeon kind of in their prime, they were able to have those multi-level jokes
Mhm.
where the kids would laugh at it because it's kind of that dumb humor, but the adults would laugh at it because, there was that hidden humor that the kids
Mhm.
just didn't pick up on. And this
Yeah.
is definitely one of the rare instances where Disney was able to put out a show in their we'll say like our later childhood years that still maintained that aspect of it.
Hmm. Well, man,
Yeah.
maybe we'll have to check this one out. Probably
Yeah.
not, but like maybe.
Hey, you never know, man. You
You
never know.
never
It's
know.
it's not a long show either, right? 20
Right.
minute episodes. I think two seasons. So it's a quick one, but it's a good one.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. My number three. I don't know if I've talked about this. I don't know if you're gonna know. This is a recent one. It's
Oh.
Ted Lasso.
Oh, nice, dude.
I
Nice pick.
love I can't even. This show is so incredible.
Yeah.
And if one and two weren't so like locked in, solidified for me, this could easily be up there. I watched it almost a year ago. So this past like Christmas break from school, visited a
Mm.
friend and we watched it. It is so good. I don't think I've ever seen a show do so well. Like phenomenal comedy. This show is absolutely hilarious. So many great characters that you love, right? That are just so fun to be around. The main
Hmm.
character, Ted Lasso, is this guy that in a like is honestly inspiring as much as he is like hilarious. Where
Yeah.
it's just like I wish I could just like I want to be that just kind to
Yeah.
everybody. Like he's such a great just like kind guy. Um, but then the like deepness of this show at the same time, where you'll be watching an episode and you're just laughing the whole way through, and then they throw a scene in at the end where all of a sudden you're crying, or you're just like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!" And
Especially
like,
season two.
yeah, I was gonna say like both seasons they hit you. Um, Season two does like slightly take the show down a notch because there's like two episodes that are just wastes of time, right? Like that nothing happens.
Are we talking about the assistant coach here?
Yes, that's a terrible
But
episode.
okay, but in its own right, it's still kind of funny. Doesn't actually like do anything for the show, but if that was released separately as like a extra thing, I think it would be funny still.
Maybe that's a show where you watch it like that's just 40 minutes of my life I'm never getting back.
Right.
Disappointing. And then the Christmas episode in the second one is like nothing happens.
Okay. I don't
You know what I
even
mean?
remember that one, honestly.
A bunch of people go to
Oh,
him.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes. They go
like
to someone's house, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like nothing happens. It's not like it's a bad episode, but just nothing happens. But hilarious show, but also a show that just kind of hits you in your feels left and right when you're not ready
Hmm.
for it. Really great storylines. Oh, I love the show. I almost like I wouldn't have watched it if my friend wasn't like, let's just put it on right now. Man, I can't eat like so good.
Yeah. Great pick. Great pick.
Thank
Only
you.
reason it probably could be up there challenging for my top five, but I want to see how it kind of lands the third season here,
Yeah.
especially with how the second season ended. But
Mhm.
oh yeah, just everything he said, like just a great, double-headed show. Like
Yeah.
you got the comedy, but especially some of those second season episodes, like the emotional stuff was there in the first season, but I mean, one of those second season episodes was just like, wow, like the emotion.
Interesting. I feel like the first one is almost just as much.
There's one episode that I remember watching that was just like,
Which episode?
oh, the funeral.
Yeah.
I just remember that one was, oh. And I there was a maybe that like one of the scenes was just so cool the way that they shot it with the speeches. Um, but yeah, I mean, great show, great show. It
Great show.
it's probably one of the most like, we're sitting here waiting for season three. And I'm just like, come on, give it to us,
Yeah.
give it to us. When
So
is it
good.
coming back?
Yeah. Um, and there's also it has some individual scenes that just like you
Mhm.
watch and give you goosebumps that are just so good. The
Yeah.
dart scene in the first episode in the bar.
Oh yeah,
I remember we were watching it and my friend, he couldn't like help himself. He's like, "Dude, you're about to watch a scene that's like maybe the greatest scene you'll ever see in a show."
that was
And
awesome.
it starts happening and it's just like incredible. Like
Right.
unbelievable. So yeah, such a good show. I'm
Yeah,
dying to see season three.
that's a
Can't wait.
great. Yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah.
All right.
Number two.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to go from a nice wholesome show back into the debate.
Uh-oh.
What do you
Uh-oh.
think number two is?
I don't even want to guess. Just say it.
How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, see, I should have guessed that. I knew that was going to be on your
Yep.
list.
Here it is. Here, let me hear it.
I don't know if we're going to have a debate. It's a great show. I just haven't seen it.
Really? I thought you didn't like it.
I used to but here's
Oh, you came
I
around a little
this
bit.
is why I came around. I had only watched like an episode here or there on TV, right? Like sporadically. I'd never sit
Hmm.
down and watch the show. And so I didn't understand like the story at all.
Okay.
So I came to a point where I was like, okay, I need to give it a real chance and watch it through. So I will say it, there's a lot that I've seen about this show that I like that seems really good. I just haven't watched it myself. But that's one that I do actually really want to watch. So
Okay.
there's no hate. There's no
So I
hate from me.
won't I won't say too much about it.
Yeah.
because I don't want to,
I mean, I
spoil it
know most
entirely.
of I there's not anything that like I know
I'll
everything
speak
that happens.
vaguely. The problem most people have, and I understand why, is the ending. For
Yep.
me personally, I don't think it's as bad as people say. I think that they get hung up on one thing and then retroactively say that the whole last season was bad or something like that. I think the last season was fine. I think it was good. I enjoyed watching it. I
Mhm.
think there is literally, I think literally there's one thing that um could be changed right at the very end that I think would make it better. But everything else I think is fine, especially when you go and rewatch certain moments. This is like I have trouble getting through some of these episodes just because of how emotional they make me. I mean, like there's one episode early on that is tough to watch, and one episode later in the show that is tougher to watch the second time because you understand where it's leading.
Mm.
And I think that when people go back and watch that, I think it gives a greater understanding and a greater respect for the show and the way that it ended because you
Mm.
can see that it was a little bit more planned out.
Okay.
But I also just think, it's got fantastic commentary or commentary.
Yeah.
Not really a social commentary much at all, but a little bit, I guess, with some of the characters. But I mean, Barney is one of the greatest TV characters ever, just one of the most entertaining television characters.
Yeah.
Um, and it also the show takes on a new lens if you think about if you really think about the fact that um, it's Ted telling the story. So, when people might say, "Oh, there's no one that's actually like that," but you could say, "Yeah, well, maybe Barney really isn't like that, but it's Ted telling the story, so Ted is
Mm.
making this up."
That's
Um,
interesting.
so yeah, it's an interesting one.
Okay.
I honestly have never watched it after having thought about that, but I mean, if it was on more often, this is probably would be the show that I go to most to rewatch.
Okay.
It's just there was a period of time where it was on a lot right in the middle of the
Yeah.
day on like Freeform or something like that. But I think something happened and it's not on that block anymore. But yeah, this was the first show that I truly, truly binged, finished it in 1 month because it was about to be taken off Netflix.
Hmm.
Um, so it also holds a special place in my heart for that reason. But I also just think it's one of the most um one of the deepest shows in terms of range where
Mm.
some episodes are just pure comedy and some like make you cry. So
Yeah.
um
Man, I
for
would
that
like to
reason
watch
it's
it.
number two.
Having not watched it, I do think I'd be a little, I don't love the ending from what I hear, but I can't really say that having not like experienced the whole show.
Yeah.
Um, and it's one of those I really wish I could watch it and not like without knowing what happens. I wish I
Yeah,
could watch it
I
fresh
get
because I
that.
know most of the storylines.
Right.
Um, but I don't have a problem with that pick.
All right. I thought we were gonna have
Yeah.
a bigger discussion. I remember when I was watching Friends, we had a discussion about How I Met Your Mother and Friends.
Well,
Um,
Friends is better, obviously, but
right, and that's where the disagreement is.
yeah.
I think How I Met Your Mother is a much deeper show
Okay.
for me. I don't Friends. I don't think ever got me into my emotions like How I Met Your Mother did, and for that reason, I gotta give it some props.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
For a while, I would probably say it was my favorite show, but for
Yeah.
now, right now, it's number
Okay.
two.
Okay. All right. My number two is The Office.
Okay,
And
this
it
is.
is,
I had a feeling it was gonna be
yeah,
somewhere here.
yeah. Man, the most rewatchable show that exists, this show, like I mentioned. And I feel like what a lot of people love about this show I like, but there's is not even like most people, Michael Scott is like the centerpiece
Mhm.
of this show. And to me, they're like Jim is just as valuable to this show as Michael Scott is to me, which I have a debate with a friend here all the time. Um, and so like when Michael leaves, I still think the show's amazing because a lot of people I know complain about like after he leaves, the show just kind of goes downhill. I still like it. I don't like maybe it's not just as good, but I think the show kind of gets like deeper in a lot of ways. Like there's some plot lines that develop in those later seasons that are really good. Um, has the best TV romance that exists in Jim and Pam. Um, it's just about as entertaining as a show that you'll ever find. And I've watched it, I don't even know how many times now, but I'll sit down and I'll watch compilations on YouTube of just like
Yeah.
best Michael moments, best Jim moments, best Dwight moments, best Creed moments.
Yeah.
And it's just those videos never fail. Just be amazing. So it's gotta be two. It's very different from the show I have number one. So sort of in a weird way,
Yeah.
it's like it's the best show at what I appreciate about The Office, if that makes
Right.
sense. Um, but man, so I just
Yeah.
it's just timeless. Like it just is one of those
Well,
shows. What?
to for some people, yes. I agree. I will always love it. For some people, there are some things that are said that, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. In that
but
sense, certainly not timeless.
yeah,
But
like when I say
for
timeless, if it came out today, it would not fly. But
right.
yeah.
But like you and I will always like watching it.
Oh,
In
yeah.
that sense, yes, timeless. Also, I like what you said there about the compilations because of any show, there's a couple others that are run through the same company, but The Office is doing kind of, I think, probably the best job with like the social media or YouTube kind of stuff and
Yeah.
just putting a like, yeah, you know, fans are doing it all the time. Best Michael Scott moments, best season
Right,
one
right.
moment. Like, why not?
Yeah, they
Official,
have so many of
whatever
them.
channel it is, NBC, The Office, Peacock, like throw
Yeah.
out those compilations. Give us the high definition versions. Give us the deleted scenes. I don't know if you've been seeing those, but like
I
those have
haven't
been
seen most of them, but I
they'll
know.
throw those out every once in a while and I'll come across my recommended. I'm like, oh man, I wish this could have made it into the episode. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I personally do think it went a little bit downhill after
Mm.
Michael left. I think if it had stopped after seven, then it would be like it would probably be up there in my top three, maybe top two. But I think the problem, and I agree that they did some really nice things after he left, certainly. And I honestly don't disagree that like Jim or even Dwight is just as valuable in the sense that if you removed one of them, I think it
Right.
also would have been
Creates an
difficult.
equally big impact. Not like it's not
Right,
like they're better, but yeah.
right. But I do think like what was the dude's name? James Spader's character like just didn't I don't know. I just found him so weird. Um I just think it
Robert California is quite a
yeah,
guy. Quite a
yeah, it's
guy
just
for sure.
I think it was the problem was that they sort of after a while, I think they kind of figured out that they needed to make it more about, like Jim and Dwight and their stuff. But I think there was a period there where they still wanted it to be about the manager, and the managers just didn't quite fill that role for me, at least.
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
still a good show. Like
Yeah.
if there was a season 8 or season 9 episode, I'm still throwing it on probably 70-80% of the time I see it. It's just not as automatic as those early
Yeah.
seasons.
I love all of it, but such a good show.
Yeah.
All
Great
right.
show. All right.
I have no clue what you're about to throw at me at one.
Well, let me do something and we'll see if you can guess. You should be able to.
I should.
But I'm gonna get a little prop here and we'll see if you can figure it out.
Wait, oh, maybe I have a guess. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go get the prop. We got our first prop on the podcast.
What is your guess?
My guess is Family Guy.
Oh no. No. Are you
Okay,
ready?
then go ahead. Just show me.
All right. Close your eyes real quick. All right. Take a guess.
Right now?
Yeah. No, open your eyes first.
I was gonna say. Wait. What? Why do I know? Why am I recognizing what this is, but I can't think of it?
My favorite show of all time by a lot is Sherlock.
Oh,
Yep. I hit you with the poker face earlier.
I wouldn't have even thought.
I love this show, man. I
Wow. Hey, well
I
done. Well
oh,
done. See,
I
the
hit you
hat,
with it.
yeah, the hat that makes obvious sense now, but I wasn't like my mind, I didn't
Yeah.
even think that was
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Dude, I have no like it's just this is going to be terrible podcasting, right? Because I just have such a hard time putting into words how great I think this show is. One, one, like you said, Benedict Cumberbatch as Sherlock is worlds better than anyone else.
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr., all right, he was okay. I thought the movie was fine, but since I watched it after I'd seen Benedict Cumberbatch, I was like, oh, not quite that. Henry Cavill is my second favorite one right now from the Enola Holmes movies, but that's just because I find it entertaining.
Uh-huh.
Nowhere near just the way that Benedict Cumberbatch is able to portray, as he says, his high functioning sociopath behavior and
Yeah.
the genius of him is just next level. Like this is the first stuff that I had seen Benedict Cumberbatch in. He's now one of my favorite actors. I think he's so
Yeah.
good. But
Yes.
he just is Sherlock. Like when I have the full collection of Sherlock stories, and when I read through those and I see it described, I just like that they did such a good job. Benedict Cumberbatch and Martin Freeman together. Wow, what chemistry,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Like just two phenomenal actors doing their thing, just being the characters that they were cast as. And man, the first episode, the way that they're able to show you the process that he goes through is just
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. The
Mm-hmm.
way that they're able to take something so complicated like that and make it make sense while also not making it seem simple, like it
Yeah.
still is brilliant when you watch it. And then I just cannot name an episode that I was bored by. Any episode, I could go back and watch any episode. Even now, I've seen some of the episodes two, three, four times, and there will still be things that I don't remember because they're so long, they're so
Right.
intricate.
Right.
And so it's like getting to watch the mystery for the first time again every single time that I watch it. I think the fourth season got a little bit odd, but at the same time, I loved it. I was so fascinated by it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if I want to spoil too much about it because, if people want to watch
Yeah.
it,
Let the people watch. Let the
let them
people
watch
watch.
it. The third season is personally my favorite, I think,
Uh-huh.
because if I'm remembering the episodes correctly, again, like I said, like it's a show that it blends together at times. And like you said, it's so unique the way that it is.
Yeah.
It was like an episode a year at certain points, one episode a year. And then it was like three episodes in a season. And that's like, there's only there's like 13 episodes technically, if you count the one in between season three and four,
Mm.
because there's three per season and then that maybe one extra.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
so
Is it out on a streaming platform right now?
I don't think it is currently. Last time I
Right.
checked, it wasn't really.
Yeah.
It
I
was on
watched it on
Netflix for
Netflix
a
back in the
while.
day, but
It
that's
was
yeah.
for a while, yeah. Until I think
Dude,
around like last Thanksgiving or so.
what a show.
Yeah.
I
It's
had no
also
idea it
just
was I had no
this is
idea.
the show that got me like obsessed with British culture. And like,
Really?
yeah, I just loved
Okay.
also I think they did such a good job of bringing like Sherlock, which is set, so long ago, and making it modern, but still like keeping the essence of the stories.
Hmm.
I was so
Yeah.
impressed by that as well.
Yeah.
I also just think like Moriarty is so awesome.
Hmm.
Like it's just everything about this show. Like I was saying, like there's nothing about this show that I don't like.
Yeah.
it's
It's
just a absolute masterclass in television for me.
it is.
Like
It is.
nothing will ever touch this, no matter like, I said, if Ted Lasso finishes it out, it could go, but like it is similar to how we were talking about like in the NBA, it's Jordan and LeBron, and then like it's Sherlock and then everything else for me. Like this,
Wow.
nothing will ever touch Sherlock for me. I
Man.
have I have the hat. I got a scarf so that I could tuck it like Sherlock. I have a long black coat that I can wear like Like I just love the character. I love the characters in the show. I'm fascinated by the mental aspect of it.
Hmm.
Oh, dude,
I'm
I've been literally sitting here for like
oh,
three
I was gonna
picks now, waiting to just
that's
talk about
so funny.
Sherlock.
That's so funny. But
Oh,
like bravo to you. The poker face is phenomenal. I had no idea. I mean, it's amazing. I
yeah.
didn't even know you liked it. That's so funny.
I was not expecting uh to have it on your list. So when
Yeah.
you said that, I was kind of like, oh man, what do I do now?
Yeah. That's so funny. Great show.
Oh
Great
man.
show.
All right. I think I know what your number one is.
It's number one by a mile. What's your guess?
Mentalist.
Absolutely. It's The Mentalist is the greatest show that's ever been made, and I it's oh my goodness. This show, it really breaks my heart that I let my dad spoil it for me before I watched it. Because I can remember my dad would watch it like when it was coming out on TV. And so I'd watch episodes here and there, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's a good show. And then at some point, if you know the plot of the show is it's a crime show, and it's this guy, Patrick Jane, trying to catch a serial killer that is killed basically his family. And at some point I'm watching, I was just like, Dad, just like tell me who Red John the show. Just tell me who it is. And he was kind of pushing back, like, you sure you want to know? You sure want to know? I was like, yeah, just tell me. And he told me, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then a couple of years later, I started watching, and I was just like, dang it. Like I want to be enthralled. But the show is so good that even though I knew who it was, when the time came for it to be revealed, I still doubted it. I really like
All right.
I fully started to buy into like maybe I'm remembering wrong
Mhm.
or maybe my dad lied. Like I completely
That would have been an all-time move by your dad.
like
And I
would
could
have
totally see him doing it as
yeah,
well.
but he didn't. I was right, but it still ended up being a shock to me because I the show was so good that it convinced me I was wrong, which is just like almost another layer of why this show is so good. Um, the plot line of Jane going after Red John, the like mental like thriller that it is, because they're two similarly but different to how Sherlock is a genius, right? Like Jane is a genius, but so is Red John. And this mental battle of he's Jane is just so good at detective work, but just because he knows how to read people so well. And there's something so
Mhm.
cool to me about being able to just like read people like that.
Yeah, I wish I
Um,
could do it.
it's so cool. And that I can remember binging this show like crazy. I can remember vividly like watching the final episodes that led up to the like resolution of this whole plot line and just freaking out. It is so good. Um, I watched a lot of it again in college. It is phenomenal. Such a good show. I feel like an underappreciated show. I don't talk to people very often that are like, "Oh yeah, I love this show. I've seen it. It's so good." It's hard for me to see anything topping it. Um, but like it's so different from The Office, where you can watch The Office a bunch. You can put it on whenever. The Mentalist is very much, I mean, with any crime show, they're just heavier because it's a lot of just, no, it's a lot of death, a lot of
Yeah.
horrible things happening. So it's not just like, oh, you throw it on whenever. It's like you sit down to watch and you just get captivated by the story.
Right.
And then I really love so many of the characters. Like I love Jane. He's so like he's just so funny, but so intelligent. I love Cho. He's just like the characters are just hilarious. The way they interact with each other is amazing. Um, It's so good. If I wasn't so morally against the idea of revenge, then this show would just be forever immortalized. But there is that slight like, well, I am like very much fundamentally opposed to like the premise that this show is based on.
Hmm.
But it like it, but at the same time, it's so good, so good.
Yeah, I'll probably have to watch it at some point.
Yeah, it's just, dude, you need. I'm telling you,
Because I know you've loved this show for so long.
yeah. I can
Um,
remember I had it on DVD, and I had the first
yeah.
3 seasons on DVD, and there was like an issue with getting the fourth one, and so I had to stop for a long time, and it was killer, which is just, oh my gosh. Are you
Yeah.
laughing because you remember what happened with
Yes.
the? Yeah, we're not going to go into that here, but such a good show, such a good show.
Yeah. It sounds like something I'd be very interested in.
Yeah, you. I think you'd
Um,
enjoy it. I think you would.
yeah, it seems
You
like
might.
it.
I'm not. I don't expect it to be better to you than Sherlock, but this could be top five. It is that good.
I agree. It's definitely one that you don't hear a lot of people talking about, which is
No,
interesting.
yeah,
I don't know why that would be. Maybe like
it's not like a
it may
huge
have
like it.
missed like our kind of like generation or whatever, I guess.
Yeah,
Like
it's
if it
not
had
like a
come out
huge.
now, maybe it would have been more popular with kids our age.
Yeah, it's not. It's not as high like quality of production as some other shows where it like, not that it's bad, but it just sort of, it doesn't look quite as clean, quite
Hmm.
as like high um cost, like, but it's
Well,
so good.
it's a little bit older too, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, but like in our
but not
lifetime.
it's right before like television got really like high budget, I would say.
Yeah, maybe, but like it all came out in our lifetime. I remember it
Right,
coming
right,
out on
right.
TV, right? But
But
yeah,
I feel like television in the last probably like 4 or 5 years has really taken a turn of like, okay, people are especially like with streaming,
yeah, yeah,
it's like, okay, we're gonna really invest a lot into this.
yeah.
I feel like
That's true.
it wasn't like that before, which is probably
But
why a lot of like older comedy shows do better because you don't really need high production
yeah,
value for
yeah,
that kind of stuff.
exactly. But such a good show.
Yeah, I knew that. So I sort of had forgotten about The Office until I put it on my list, and I was like, oh, that'll probably be on your list as well. But I knew, like, I had a feeling Friends was going to be on there, and I had a feeling
Mm,
Mentos was going to be on there.
hmm.
So I guess I had three that I thought were going to be on there.
Yeah,
Because I'm like, yeah, Mentos is. I knew that was.
yeah.
And
You
I
know,
had a
if
feeling it was going to be high on your list.
yeah, it had to be. It's one by a mile.
Yeah.
But what are some of the ones that were close? Just quickly.
Um. So I have Wizards of Waverly Place. My favorite like
Right.
show from when I was a kid as on Disney Channel. Netflix show, A Series of Unfortunate Events.
Hmm.
Um, Sort of another kind of like mystery show. I watched that in the later years of high school, early college, and it's another like it's 2 seasons. It's like 14 episodes, 2 seasons, so it's like
Who are the
very
main
quick.
actors in that show?
It's mostly children, but Patrick Warburton has a big speaking part. Neil Patrick Harris is also in it. It's a
Yes, okay,
very
I've seen
much
it.
like
I've seen some of
revolving.
it.
Every episode is a lot of like new characters.
Yeah,
It's just kind of like a fun, sort of goofy, like
yeah,
whimsical
yeah.
sort of show that's about a very serious thing, but it's not
Right.
handled super seriously.
Yeah,
Um, Parks and Rec, I mean, super good comedy show, but for me, I don't like it as much as The Office, so it felt weird to have
sure.
them both in there since they're
Hmm.
so similar.
Yeah.
Um, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I
Oh, that's what I was
love
forgetting
Brooklyn
about.
Nine-Nine, but I
Yeah.
think the last season just didn't quite land for me, unfortunately. Um, it just got a little bit too like political, and whether or not like people agree with like I just don't want like
That's not the
when I
place for
watch
that.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I'm not watching it for that. Other shows, sure, like throw it in, whatever, talk about whatever you want, but I watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine to be like ridiculous.
Just
And
mindless comedy.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, Community, I just finished it, so that was fresh on my mind. I think
Mm,
that's a great comedy. Um, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is like the adult, well, Family Guy's a pretty adult version, but it's like a live action Family Guy, I would say, where there's really there's I mean a small overarching plot, but just basically in the sense that like these are the same characters, and so they'll make a reference to something that happened
yeah.
episodes ago. But other than that, like every single episode is its own plot, super clippable. Like you watch like
Hmm.
40-second clips on YouTube, and it's hilarious.
Hmm.
Um, I also just recently finished that. And then Suits is another show that I really enjoy.
Interesting.
Um,
So this is one I've been intrigued by, but I haven't watched. I've seen like a ton of like YouTube like
yeah,
reels
I
of
I
Suits.
one day it was actually honestly it was when I was in England,
Mhm.
I was going to the bathroom watching the like TikTok or Instagram Reels or something like that,
Mhm.
and a Suits clip came up, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty." That it hooked me. I
Mhm.
watched the whole thing. Went into the comments. Someone was like, "Oh, it's on Netflix in the UK now." Went downstairs. The TV in our like shared house had Netflix on it. Started watching Suits. Finished it like 2 or 3 months later.
There you
So
go.
it was just kind of like,
Yeah,
you know what? I'm gonna start watching it, and it hooked me.
there you go. Right. So that's
Yeah.
one I kind of have on my list. I want to watch.
All right. Yeah, give it a try. I
Yeah.
think the characters are great.
Yeah.
Um, was there anything you were thinking about that didn't quite make it?
There's a couple. So there's like a couple that are intriguing. Like Parks and Rec is an interesting one because I haven't seen all of it.
Hmm.
And similar to you, I think I love Parks and Rec from at least I've seen the majority of it and I love it, but it's just not to me, it's like a just slightly worse version of The Office. So it's not gonna make my list, but it's like close. Um Brooklyn Nine-Nine I had completely forgotten about, but that one that's
It
like
has some
borderline
all-time moments.
that's like a borderline better than Friends show, honestly.
Okay.
Um I didn't put it there. It doesn't have the nostalgia factor, so I'm okay with it not being top five, but it's like right
Hmm.
outside. The Mandalorian is up there for me.
Really? Okay.
I love the show, but more than that, Star Wars: The Clone Wars
Yeah.
was like this close to making my list. Um, and it has this dual thing going for it where I loved it as a kid. Like I can vividly remember going to church every Friday night and then running home, and it was on Cartoon Network and
Hmm.
just loving it. Um, and then I didn't finish it. I forget like the last like two, I think it was 2.5 seasons I had never seen. And I went back last year and like watched the whole show through. And like the earlier season or two are very much like feels geared for a younger audience.
Yeah.
But I think at some point they just started making it where like I don't know if they noticed that like they had a wider audience than they expected, but it felt like they kind of flipped a switch where now it was like for an older audience, it would like would also be interesting. And so I really love it. And then the later seasons are so good. And it's really cool when you start to see it like tying into the movie. Like when you start to see it like, oh, it's leading into episode three. And then when
Hmm.
it's like happening simultaneously with episode three, I thought was so cool. Um, it does have one of my least favorite characters in television, which is probably what has to pull it down a bit. I hate
Okay.
Ahsoka. I really do. I hate her
Really?
much. I think she's so annoying.
Huh.
I think she's so the stuff she does is just so dumb.
Uh-huh.
Um, but I love that show. And so it has like the nostalgia factor of being a kid, and then I rewatched it and really liked it. And it just to me that show is like what makes Star Wars like I'm a prequels guy, obviously, but it's like the Clone Wars is the like that going that in depth in the story, having that much content of like what's
Hmm.
happening in between these episodes. I just love it so much. Um, and then that's probably it for any that were like close for
Yeah.
there.
Funny story about Parks and Rec. So I watched The Office in 2 weeks. I
Which,
actually
by the way,
started
that's
them.
crazy. Like
Yeah.
that is crazy.
I started Parks and Rec and The Office on the same day because I think at the time they were both on Netflix, maybe.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so I watched Parks and Rec came up first on the recommended thing for
Hmm.
Netflix. And so I said, oh, and then I was flipping through and then The Office came up and I said, oh, you know what? I'll give them both a try. I watched the first 10 minutes of Parks and Rec. I was like, this is just not doing it for me.
Hmm.
Let me go see what The Office is saying. I went over to The Office. I started the first episode, and 2 weeks later, I finished it. Like I
There you
pretty
go.
much just didn't stop watching it.
Yeah.
Um, so Parks and Rec
Hard to
is
put both of them
certainly
above.
it's Parks and Rec certainly had a tougher time, I think, finding itself,
That's what. So I haven't
partially
seen the
because
first
it tried to be
The
it was
Office,
it was
right?
originally an Office spin-off.
Hmm.
So it tried to be just like The Office with talking heads and all sorts of stuff. And as I started to notice, like as you get deeper into it, they kind of just get rid of all that stuff and treat
That
it
was
just like you're
it's
watching this
different.
happening, which I
Yeah.
think was a much better angle.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Um,
I didn't see the first season or two because I was watching with someone and they were kind of just like the first couple seasons is just trying to be The Office is not worth
right.
it. Um. So or maybe it was just the first season I didn't see. I don't remember, but it's a great show. So,
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's remind everyone of our top five. My five to one, Friday Night Lights, The Office, Gravity Falls, How I Met Your Mother, and then Sherlock.
my five to one. I got Friends, Sherlock, Ted Lasso, The Office, and The Mentalist.
I don't, yeah, again, I feel like we came into this expecting wildly different things. I feel like we each had kind of like one that was super off the radar,
Yeah.
maybe two for me, like Friday Night Lights and
Yeah.
um Gravity Falls, and then like I've never
Yeah.
seen the mental. Like I knew the mental's was going to be on
Yeah.
yours, but I'd never seen it, so I have. But I
Right.
feel like
Right.
everything else was sort of
Yeah. And I could have guessed How I Met Your Mother if I really thought about it.
yeah.
Because I do remember you talk about it now. And I didn't know
Mhm.
Sherlock, but I like never would have guessed that we'd have that overlap.
I know that.
So look at
Yeah,
us.
that was unexpected.
Yeah.
That was super unexpected.
That's funny.
Oh, the panic, the panic. I had to make a quick decision. Like, do I start
Yeah.
talking? How much do I reveal right now? Do I play it off?
You did the right thing. You did the right thing.
Okay. I was trying to deal with like, because you were like, oh, have you seen it? I'm like, yeah.
I have watched it once, twice.
Yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm aware. I'm aware of its presence.
Kills me. But
I think I actually dressed up as Sherlock Holmes once when I was a kid. Obviously not like from seeing the show or anything, but it's just
yeah.
like oh,
Yeah.
what would be an easy costume to make? And I think I
Yeah.
like taped two hats back together or something like that.
Classic.
Um, but yeah, oh, what a show. I'll have to
Which,
check out The Mentalist too, because it seems similar in style and kind of
yeah.
that itch that it scratches.
Yeah. So check it out. You'll have to get.
Yeah,
We'll make an
nice.
updated top five when you put Mentalist up there too.
All right, all right. It'll be tough. So the problem with that is it'll be tough to get in just because it's a similar like genre.
Hey,
You
watch the
know,
show. Watch the show,
we'll
and then we'll
see.
see.
Yeah,
We'll see.
we'll have to see. We'll have to see.
But
But solid list. Another solid
yeah.
list. And I think this is episode 9, so
Well, we might have hit.
we're close to episode 10, and then we'll have to
How
set
about
a new
that?
goal after that.
Like that.